Hello folks, so this time round, because of the last hot tub video, I've had a few requests for a bit more information on setting it up, how to use it and that sort of thing. So we're going to be taking a look at how to set up and look after your hot tub. So let's get on with the video. So here we go. This is one of the Lay-Z-Spa range. This is the Monaco, but basically this will apply pretty much for any that you come across. So the principles are all the same no matter what you do. Now, first of all, you can see the chemical float that I've got floating in the hot tub, and this does a slow dosing of our chlorine. Now, what I've done is I tend to buy large tubs, so after you've got through your initial little pack, which I'll show you, so most of the Lay-Z-Spa units come through with this pack, and you have these small chemicals to start with. Now these aren't that, they don't last that long, so like I say, what I tend to do is I buy bulk packs. If you go on eBay, you can find loads and loads of places to get all the different chemicals from, and these are the ones I use, the multi-function chlorine tablets, and this is what goes into the float that you can see. The first thing, however, as soon as you've filled it with water, you can't use it straight away. What you need to do is you need to do the shock treatment. This is to initially set the water levels, the pH, and basically get the water safe to use for the first time, and that's the value that you're seeing here. This is the booster dose of chlorine granules to use. So what you do is you find your spa hot tub volume on the left there, and then it's either 3, 4 or 5 teaspoons, and that's an approximation. Now if you do go over on this, it's not too much of a problem. It just means it'll take a little bit longer before the hot tub is safe to use. Now after doing the initial booster dose, it's 24 to 48 hours before you can use the hot tub. So typically add this dose, leave it for 24 hours, and then I would test it using a chlorine test strip, which I'll show you how to do a little bit later on. After adding your initial dosing, it's normally a good idea to give it a bit of a mix. The easiest way on mine is to switch the hydrojets on and set the bubbles going for a little bit. It also helps disperse chlorine, so if you do have chlorine levels a little bit too high, you can run this and it will help reduce your overall chlorine level. So once your initial dosing is done, you want to regularly keep topped up with chlorine, and you do that using the dosing tool that I've shown you here. So what you do is you add chlorine tablets into this, and they're slow release over time, generally over about a week or so. It'll dissolve away, and that just keeps topping up the amount of chlorine that you need to keep constant in your hot tub. You can buy various different types of chlorine tablets. You can see the ones here I've got are a little bit large, but you just break them in half and put them inside. So it just depends on what you want to buy and in how much bulk. I do find that it's cheaper if you buy the larger tubs, the bulk tubs, and then use them over a longer time. So here we have our chlorine test strips. Now you can see I got the original pack, and then I've also got a replacement pack here as well. They all work in the same way. They have 3 little test tabs on them that show you the different levels. So you just take them out of the foil packaging and you dip them into the hot tub and then remove them. Don't shake them or rub them or anything like that. Just wait a few seconds for them to act. Remember to always put the spare ones back and seal it up so they don't get any moisture in there as well. So if we use this test strip, dip it in, take it back out and wait a few seconds,
and we can compare it against the 3 levels on the packaging. So in my case, the top one is the parts per million free chlorine. Then you've got the middle, which is the pH value, and then the total alkalinity. And you can see you want them all to be pretty much in the middle of the indicators here. If they're not, you can see my free chlorine's a little bit high, so there's too much chlorine. You just vary depending on the different chemicals you've got to correct those levels. So just to explain this a little bit more, the free chlorine, that's to do with your chlorine tablets, and that's the amount of dose that goes in either of your initial shock dose or of your longer period of slow release tablets. So if that is constantly too high, there's too much dose going in, and you can adjust this slightly on the dosing tool that's floating in your hot tub. The pH you want to maintain around about in the middle. Higher or lower tends to be outside factors, so it tends to be people going in that have different makeups, cleaning materials on, different shampoos, things like that. That affects your pH. And your total alkalinity is actually a balance of the above. So typically your total alkalinity will be fine if you keep your chlorine and your pH matched around about the middle. So to adjust the free chlorine, you adjust the amount of dosing that the tablets or the granules that you use vary. Your pH, you can vary that with the use of chemicals. There's a pH plus and a pH minus chemical to help keep those in the middle. And by varying those two, your total alkalinity should then match somewhere in the middle. After dosing with any of the chemicals or chlorine, it's normally a good idea to try and mix it thoroughly through the hot tub water, and I do this using the Spa Jet or the Bubbles tool here on the pump. One other thing you may find is you get some foam forming on the top. Now it would normally lie, you can't see any on mine at the moment, but this is normally caused by people that have makeup or certain hair products on, things like that using the hot tub. It causes foam and like a scum to appear along the top. Now what you can use is a foam remover chemical like this. You just add it in again whilst the hydrojets are running, and that should get rid of the foam off the top. So now onto the filtration. You can see this model, the filter is attached to the wall of the hot tub. Now inside is a paper filter that helps separate out all of the bits, things like that, and stop it from going into your hot tub pump. So this is very important. Don't run it without a filter. As tempted as you are to save money or to cut back on that, always make sure it's being filtered before it goes through your pump. It also helps keep the hot tub clean, as the filter will catch all of the bits of debris, also things like scale and limescale buildup, anything like that, it'll get caught in the filter. So on this model, you just unscrew it from the inside wall. It goes onto the bottom of the 2 inlet outlets that you see. And you separate the 2 halves of the filter block. And you can see the filter is inside. And this uses one of the original types of filters which you can buy replacements for. I find what you can do is you can keep 3 or 4 in rotation. If you allow them to dry out afterwards, you can then basically hit them or manage to get all of the debris out, and then you just replace them and put them back in again. After time, the paper does disintegrate though, and they do need replaced, so you do need to keep on top of that. And if you do see it starting to disintegrate, do replace it. You don't want all of those bits starting to go through and into your pump and potentially cause damage to your hot tub pump. So that's the original paper one. You can see there's an alternative here which is a foam type. Now these ones are sold as a cheaper alternative and again are quite reusable because you can clean them, wash them, put them actually through the washing machine and clean them out. Now I didn't find them quite as good as the originals, but they do actually work reasonably well. So it depends on what you want to give a try. I gave them a try, but I ended up going back. You can see you can get multi-packs of the original paper filters and they do work a lot better, I found. Now onto the temperature control. You can see you can vary the temperature up and down and the unit will regulate the water temperature to that temperature. Now I've found if you're not going to be using it for a few days, it does save electricity, which we'll talk about later. If you reduce the temperature even a few degrees, will actually make quite a difference. So do bear that in mind. But then when you want to use it again, boost it back up to your usable temperature. The different temperatures may vary depending on lots of conditions around you, whether the hot tub's exposed, that kind of thing. I found 35 as the ideal temperature when it's not going to be used a few days, seems to be around about right, and then up to 38, 39 when it's going to be used. Bear in mind you will need to set it back up to 38, 39 a good 6 to 12 hours before you want to use it though. Here's the same but on an older control panel. Now this is also an interesting one. You can see this panel is now in error state, beeping. All of the different error codes are listed I've shown and they all mean different things on the repair. More of that was in part 1 of our video, which was about repairing and stripping down the hot tub. So before we leave the outside of the hot tub, the thing to remember is to try to insulate it as best as possible. Keep it blown up to the right amount, and also the lid. Make sure that is inflated at all times and you use it to secure it as soon as you're done with the hot tub. Keep the temperature in, which will also save you electricity in keeping it heated up. On this model, you can also see that it has the safety trip unit with reset and test. So you always have to press reset to allow the unit to operate if there's been a power cut or anything like that. This is important as it protects the unit against any sort of faults. It will immediately cut power to the unit. You can also see connect to plug mine in, I've had an outdoor socket professionally fitted. Now this is important because electricity and outdoors, it's a hazardous situation, so it has to be done right. Now on to the final part, which is about the electricity consumption. Now the unit itself is a little bit like a kettle. It tends to consume around about 1.2 kilowatts of power when the heater is on at full power, so it is expensive to run. Now to give you an idea, you can see here my energy meter is showing this is whilst the hot tub is running and the heater is turned on. Now obviously a little bit of that is my general house usage, but around about 1.2 kilowatts of that is the hot tub heater whilst it's heating the water up. So it will cause an increase to your energy consumption. Now here I've shown you, this was the month before I put the hot tub up this year. So you can see the general sort of amount of electricity used. Now I do have a slightly higher than normal electricity use, but if you take this as the baseline and then look at this graph, which is the month after that, which is when the hot tub gets used, you can see the clear difference in daily usage of energy. So as a rough estimate, around about £30 in addition per month is what the hot tub costs to run in raw electricity. Now, like I said before, varying the temperature and learning how to use it could help you reduce that amount, but that's a very basic amount you can see. Now, I also graph and monitor the hot tub using one of my own little inventions, the hot tub manager, which I'll put a link to below. This lets me know the temperature of the hot tub, when the heater is on, any error codes or any reason why it's stopped. That helps me make sure that I make the best use of the energy being put into it. The last thing I want to do is spend money heating it up and then find that it's switched off or you're losing that energy for some reason. And that's something that you do learn over time whilst you use your hot tub.